Whoa. Good morning, everybody. I'm getting spaces set up. I posted it on my X, but I didn't put a link there, so I got to go back and find it in my X account. Okay, I found it. Having some trouble with my computer. It's behaving funny, so I'm hoping the stream works today. Anyhow, we'll be talking about PTGC and UFO over on PulseChain. And we do X spaces right here on my phone. So you guys can type your questions and comments in the chat, and I will ask them on the spaces. But you guys can jump in the spaces and chat too. Good morning. I'm a little late getting set up here. Give me a second to turn the volume up for the audience on YouTube. There we go. How you doing, man?
Good. No complaints.
Right on.
Just trying to utilize these low prices on PulseChain to the best of our advantage.
Yeah. I bought a little bit of PTGC yesterday, man. Just a smidge. Now, literally, I was like, man, I got this laying around. Let's see. You go to my deck screener. It's being outperformed. Well, might as well rotate it. So I did. And I probably won't regret it later.
Yeah, the prices just in general are so low right now. I just tend to believe as long as Richard at this point wants not even a lot of success, just his chain to be somewhat relevant, just not sinking forever, we're going to win here so hard with PTGC.
So hard.
What we've been able to do throughout the last two and a half years with value just flowing out every single day pretty much. In the long term, obviously there's been pumps and stuff like that, but overall you look at where we're at right now, 10x lower than when PTGC even launched, and we're still having tons of success. We're still growing. You still see new wallets popping in. Huge efforts with the IRL. I think that's huge for when we do have a bull market. Like, we're going to have an army of these in real life people who know other in real life people. And I just tend to think, like, when we do get that little push up of Pulse, if it's a little or it's a lot, right? I still think our community has the ability to do a ton of X's.
Absolutely.
Where, like, in PulseChain, let's say PulseChain does a 10x. That's more X's than we've ever seen in a run from PulseChain. I think the PTGC community with the 10x on PulseChain can very easily do a 10x against PulseChain, just because that's what we've done in the past. And that's 100x for our community members, to where if you're just in PulseChain, you get a 10x. If you bought the bottom, I think that's still good too, right? Like, if someone buys the bottom and pulls off the 10x, like, let's say they buy now and then price gets pretty close to SAC price. But for the people who aren't buying that exact dip, it's still below sacrifice price, which a lot of people paid, if not higher. And I feel like PTGC is just a great solution. If you want to put extra X's on this cycle, just like we did last cycle, PTGC and UFO are the way to do it.
Yeah. Yep, they are. I don't know if you noticed, but speaking about sentiment, I put something in the Telegram this morning. Like, crypto engagement on Twitter is down something like 96% since September. That's pretty horrible.
And imagine, like, if that's since, you said since what day?
September.
Gosh, like, and that wasn't even like the peak of alt season this cycle.
Exactly.
And then you think of like where crypto was, 5 years ago, 2021. Like, I'm sure YouTube and Twitter, I wasn't on Twitter at that time because I was on YouTube in 2021, but YouTube was popping. Like, dude, people were streaming and they're having hundreds of people watching.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yep. So that's exactly what I was thinking, like 4-hour audience and the people we're trying to reach. Man, when people come back to crypto, like when PulseChain starts moving or we start moving, people come back and we will not only have an increased audience, but that audience will have access to other people and they will be onboarding. And it's just going to be potentially a huge frenzy of people coming into crypto, PulseChain and the Grays currencies. I anticipate it could get like really, really crazy.
So I was really thinking about this either yesterday or the day before, like what kind of sparked other alt seasons, you know, what gets energy up, what starts onboarding retail. And there's always like these specific tokens that are trending up in the bear market.
Yeah.
So the people who are in those communities start winning before everyone else, right? Like by the time people start saying the bull market's here or alt season's here, these people have already changed their lives. They're already taking some profits and stuff like that because they're already up so many X's, and people are finding out about this in the bull market, and that's what actually starts bringing people in. And I don't see a reason why PTGC and UFO cannot be those products. Like, we are spending a lot of time focusing on IRL people. And if we keep focusing on onboarding IRL people and even the crypto people on PulseChain, and we start winning before alt season in general starts happening, people are going to be talking. If we move up 10x from here, let's say, and people who are buying a $5,000 bag turn it into $50,000, like, people are going to tell other people, right? This is just naturally what's going to happen. Or let's say we do even more. Let's say that $5,000 turns into $100,000. Well, people are going to tell other people. And I feel like every cycle or most tokens kind of always talk about like, oh, when alt season's here, we're going to be reaping, or we're going to do some serious exits. But the mindset of PTGC and UFO need to be like, hey, like, even on PulseChain, like, I do think Richard has the ability to spark an alt season himself by being active and pushing up the price of his chain. Imagine if PulseChain was a leader of alt season, or, obviously we're talking about PTGC and UFO because we have more control over its success. What if PTGC and UFO were massive leaders in this alt season? Last cycle, we were able to be up 50 to 100 X's before the alt season of last cycle. And then in that alt season, we did another 50X. The people who got in early there were already up tons of X's before even the rest of crypto started running. And I very easily think we could do that again.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, engagement on YouTube has dropped also. I just looked it up on Grok, and it has dropped 80 to 85% on YouTube. So
since September again, or
I put in 2021.
Yeah,
actually.
So I believe that. Yeah, I think everyone's waiting on retail to come in. Everyone's waiting on retail to come in. And you're just like, well, what brings retail in? The story of people changing their lives brings retail in. Retail doesn't come in without people actually changing their lives, because they need the FOMO of, hey, this person I know who's just an average Joe, maybe owns a business or, even works for someone, they're now financially free because they took a risk on this crypto thing. They now maybe are not completely financially free, but, they have this massive chunk of money they just bought a house with, or, maybe they got passive income. They don't have a lot of stress anymore. However they play their game, but that story has to start spreading. And that story doesn't start spreading without those tokens making runs before the rest of the market. Pepe kind of did that. Shiba Inu kind of did that. Doge kind of did that. I even would say HEX kind of did that. HEX, when I got onboarded into HEX, it was roughly a cent. And the person who onboarded me was already bragging to me about how hard he was winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was already up a good chunk of X's. I don't know, he's a day one Hexagon guy and obviously got all the bonuses, but at a penny, he was already winning heavily. Obviously, he was winning way more at 45 cents. But the point is he was already killing it, and he was telling people about it. And he, found out I was in cryptocurrency, and not that he was just trying to push me into HEX. He just felt like it was something I'd want to know about at those levels. And he felt confident in telling people about it. He wasn't even working at the time because he was up. You know what I mean? Prices were up. He was feeling good, and he had proof of being successful in the industry.
Yep. And by the way, I need to drop that pinned tweet from my X account. I'll drop that in the Jumbotron. And if you guys are just listening in and new to the Gray's Currencies, watch that 4-minute video and read the text too in that tweet. It's excellent. And it's a good introduction to the Gray's Currencies, which we are talking about today. And you can find that at the top of your X in the Jumbotron. So how many people are in here today? About almost 20. It's quiet. If you guys haven't seen the stream that Zen and I did with Dolan from High Altitude Investing, you guys need to watch that stream. It was so good. And it was unlike, I think you can speak to this too, Zen, but it was unlike any stream that we have done before, where like the guest Dolan he just kind of took the reins quite a bit, and he wanted to talk about crypto, and he wanted to talk about PulseChain and PTGC also, and it was excellent. It was bullish, really, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's definitely different. He spent a lot of time comparing, where charts are today with some charts that have a little bit more history, more history than even Bitcoin and Ethereum. He was comparing it to some stock charts and where we're at with this dip and what we could see in the future just by judging, how charts have performed in the past. And I think for me, it felt good because I'm someone who's bullish on crypto in general. So like, even if the short term we're down right now, or even if there's a little bit more down to go, these prices are steals to me. And I'm bullish long term, and I'm here for the long term. And for him to be not only bullish long term, like he had huge belief in cryptocurrency, especially with the charts he was comparing to, like after these ranges that we're in right now, the charts he was showing were pretty much up only. Once they got adoption from banks and stuff like that, the crypto or the internet bubble popped, and then they started getting adoption. The big companies did, and then they have pretty much up only charts. And I feel like we kind of are at that stage right now with cryptocurrency. The adoption from banks and corporations are at all-time highs, and we're at this dip right now. I think very easily we could start seeing that trend upwards to where maybe it's not as drastic as the X's we've got in the past from the big tokens like Bitcoin and Ethereum, but studying the past, it's like up only from these points. And it was nice to kind of show us that history and then the proof of that happening during these specific times.
Yeah.
And then for me, someone who thinks, hey, PulseChain's been down for 8 months in a row, Bitcoin down for 6 months, I think Ethereum down for 7 or 6 months. I think we're due for a bounce. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of confirming that same thing, that he thinks we're at least due for a good bounce here. It seemed like he actually thought that we're going to go into a bull market from these levels.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that he showed that falling wedge on PulseChain, and he was very emphatic that he's like all in on crypto right now. He says, if that's not a chart that you want to buy, he's like, I got news for you. This is a setup for a send, is basically what he was trying to impress on the audience, that with that falling wedge on PulseChain. And he was very obviously very impressed with PTDC's chart too. And when we pulled up the PTDC WPLS chart in WPLS, he about fell off of his chair. That was classic.
Yeah, it really does show what we're doing if you take away the fact PulseChain's pulling us down. PulseChain has drastically decreased the price of PTDC. You know, if PulseChain was just at the levels PTGC was when it launched, or if PulseChain was at the levels PulseChain was when PTGC launched, you know, you wouldn't be getting PTGC at a 30 million market cap. You'd have to be buying PTGC pretty much at least, in my opinion, a 300 mil market cap, probably even higher, probably over all-time highs. So, you know, the fact that PulseChain has dragged PTDC to these low levels, I think not only is an opportunity for people, like I literally was just telling my brother-in-law, like, hey, like if you want to get into this, the blockchain I'm built on has struggled so much that it's giving you a good opportunity to grab a bag of PTDC if you want it. But that opportunity does not need to be here forever. In the title of this chat, I don't know if it's changed for you. I wrote something up in there I was looking at this morning that PLS on the MACD has flipped bullish. Ethereum looks like it's just a couple weeks away of flipping bullish if Ethereum stays green for these next couple weeks, which is on the weekly time frame, which is super good confirmation for at least an uptrend, even if it's not a trend that, you know, breaks all-time highs or confirms a bull market, but is a good indicator for a nice multi-month bounce.
Sure. Well, what's the name of the company? Maybe somebody can pop it in the chat or come up and say which company it is. But I was listening to the what's his name, the Nomad Investor or something like that, and he was talking about, I think it's Tom Lee's corporation that's scooping up Ethereum. They're at they're 78% on their way to their goal of 5%, owning 5% of the supply of Ethereum. And they're going to be diamond handing it. So Ethereum should it's being taken off the market. I mean, if that's any indication of what could happen in the future. And I know, and he also said that Robert Kiyosaki, not that he's an OG, because he's not OG crypto person, but he is an investor, and he's elderly. Like I think he has some wisdom, and he thinks that Ethereum's going to $60,000 this year. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you know, that was his thought on Ethereum. It's looking good for Ethereum.
Where did you hear that, Banana? Do you know?
Where did I hear that?
Yeah. Was it a Robert Kiyosaki post, or because I think that's obviously, for me, not gonna happen.
Sure.
Because it's really, really far away from us. But I would love to hear why he thinks Ethereum could do a 30x this cycle.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's a stretch too, you know, to be honest. I think 15 grand is a stretch, but I'm open to it. This is crypto, and incredible things happen in crypto. So
if Ethereum is able to pull off a 30x, the amount of value that would have to flow into Ethereum would be insane. Like the alt season that we would have would be so massive, because alts are obviously connected to Ethereum. They thrive off of Ethereum growing. Ethereum growing in price is a direct indicator of new money and new users flowing in. Like, could you imagine what kind of X's PulseChain could do and PTGC and UFO could do off of a move like that? Like, look at what we've done with the blockchain we're built on being down 10x.
Yeah, it'd be mega big. So he said it last November. He said Bitcoin's going to 250 and Ethereum 60,000. But Grok says he wrote $60 in the post, but context and widespread reporting interpreted it as 60,000. So he didn't technically say 60,000.
Mm-hmm.
And he did put disclaimers in there with it, of course, which is wise. But again, he's not an OG, crypto person. I'm more likely to listen to
I'd be happy with the 6K.
6K. Do you know where the Gray's currencies would be with a 6K ETH? Yeah.
Yeah, I think either way, like the price on Ethereum, even though I think it's worth the risk going a step further into like PulseChain or PTGC at these lows, every time ETH has started to move up, Pulse has moved up more, ETH has moved up more. On the way down, they both have moved down more too. They're more volatile, but since we're at lows here, it is better to take that risk-on approach, judging by past history. But a move of Ethereum up to 6K would definitely be nice for both PulseChain and Ethereum, and I think we could make some serious moves with that kind of injection coming into cryptocurrency.
There's a question.
We're due for it.
We're overdue. Well, the PMI is above 50 for the third month in a row, and I just learned this morning that it really needs to be above 55. That's like being above 50 is excellent, but above 55 is even better. And I think from what I learned from DJ Khaled, that's kind of a key indicator for the beginning of a bull run. So we got about another month to find out what April's PMI is. Hopefully it'll be above 55 or at least above 50 again. Hey, there's a question on YouTube. Why are we confident that there are more X's for PTGC at these prices in comparison to HEX at these prices that has dipped harder?
So personally, I think HEX needs a solid injection by Richard. I do believe he will do it eventually, but what size of injection is he willing to do? I don't know. I believe there's a lot of people with HEX that kind of want off the ship as soon as there is some gains, and there's a process there that still has to take place. Where within PTGC, I don't feel like there's a lot of people that want off the ship. I think they've very much enjoyed their experience. I think they're very happy with kind of what it's done for them financially and what it's doing for them right now with the passive income. They feel confident in the fact that it's deflationary and has the built-in LP ads, along with the ability that we have with the DAO to constantly pivot with the market cycles. So, I think there's obviously that option of, where Richard comes in and just saves the day and pumps HEX crazy amounts. But our goal is to reap the benefit off of that. We have a very, very large HEX LP with both PHEX and EHEX, and we're rooting for HEX to do more X's than us. People don't understand that.
Yeah.
It's like, if HEX does more X's than us this cycle, we're so happy because we get all those free X's because of our bonded liquidity. Our mindset is more, hey, we don't know when or if that can happen, and there's so much growth we can do in the meantime. If it takes a few months for PulseChain or HEX to get going, or let's say a year down the road there's this injection that really pushes price up, who knows? but we can be up 10x's before that time even starts. And what we've seen on our chart versus PulseChain, HEX, PulseX is our community members actually want to hold our token. Our price has been moving up against PulseChain pretty much since the launch of PTGC. Our community wants to hold our tokens. We're just at the beginning phase of our S-curve. We're just getting the word out there that we even exist. I feel like we can only go up from here. Literally only 3,000 people own $500 or more. That's literally a high school stadium. And there's 27,000 high schools just in the United States. So the amount of people we can bring in is still so high. We're still so small. The community that we have holding the tokens right now, I think, truly believe in this product long term. Will they take profits? 100%. I think they're going to take profits. But I also think there's a very large percentage of their bag that they're willing to hold long term and actually use the product for what it's intended, as a store of value system that pays you passively in a deflationary asset. But, that being said, am I confident that forever we're going to do X's against HEX? I do believe Richard one day is going to get his stuff going. But the sweet thing about our protocol is we've bonded ourselves with so much liquidity with his tokens. When that day comes, for me, that's like game over, checkmate, we did it. But in the meantime, why don't we want to increase our portfolio 10x or more? It's easy for us to do. If everyone just onboards one buddy that has $500 or more, we would easily be up 10x. And then when that time does come that the PulseChain or the blockchain or HEX or PulseX really do start to move, let's say you put $10,000 into PTGC, and then our community members, we get PTGC up 10x against PulseChain. Well, now your portfolio is at 100x. And let's say now from these lows, Richard pulls off 100x, on HEX. Most likely if he's pulling off 100x on HEX, his other tokens are moving up something as well. We're moving up something as well. Well, imagine if we just ride that wave and we do another 100x. Well, you just turned your $10,000 into $10 million. If you did X's before everything else started to rise. And I do think our community has the ability to pull this off. I don't think it's an easy task. It takes effort. It takes us IRL onboarding, because there's not a lot of money on PulseChain right now. Cool thing about IRL onboarding is when prices start moving up, those IRL people know other IRL people. They're not like the crypto Twitter people that have pretty much already tapped into their IRL people. So we're going to set ourselves up differently. We're going to have an army of not only crypto users, but in real life people spreading the word of what PTGC is designed to do. And yeah, just going back to the question is, I hope Richard pumps HEX more than PTGC.
Absolutely.
But if he doesn't, we have a lot within PTGC we can do in the meantime to be successful within cryptocurrency. Last cycle is a great example. If you waited on Richard last cycle, your bag pretty much shrunk the entire cycle. But if you speculated on a new product that I believe is also a very, very strong system, it's decentralized, burnt LPs can never be turned off, built in APY, you did very, very well. Like you were in a serious winner, depending on when you got that bag. If you got the bag at the bottoms of PulseChain, which I think we're at right now, I was just bringing up that PulseChain just flipped bullish on the MACD. If you scoop bags of PTGC during those flips, you won massively compared to most tokens on this blockchain.
Well, since
I think we'll do it again.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at this with a friend of mine yesterday. He actually got his first bag of PTGC yesterday, and it was partly because I showed him the HEX, the PTGC HEX chart in HEX terms, and I have it pulled up on my desk screener right now. If you go back to November of 2023, PTGC is up against HEX nearly 900x. So if you'd flipped all your HEX, and I'm sure some people did, any HEX flipped into PTGC, in November, at the beginning of November, at the bottom of November to today is up 900x. You could literally sell half of your PTGC and get half of your, and get 450 times more hex back and still maintain your PTGC. It's mind bending to think about. 900x.
Yeah, obviously that's at very, very low levels when it first launched, but even in ranges that, you know, that we after runs and after a few months of being out, you know, I still remember when PTGC was out for a few months, it went up to like, I think a 5 mil market cap and went all the way down to a 500K market cap. And then off of that 500K market cap, as soon as PulseChain flipped bullish again, PTGC was already front running it, kind of like we're doing right now. And we did a massive 50x move with PulseChain only doing like a 5 to 6x move. Then price came down. I think we landed at a 5 mil market cap this time. It was again like a 95% dip. And when PulseChain bottomed out and flipped bullish, we were front running it again. And we did another 50x move. And HEX wasn't doing 50x moves last cycle. PulseX wasn't doing 50x moves last cycle. PulseChain was at most doing like 5x moves last cycle. And luckily, everything's lower now. Like that YouTube comment was saying, like pretty much they've all been trending down for 3 years. But for me, that doesn't make it more difficult for us to outperform. That actually makes it easier for us to do X's from these levels, because I feel like now we can get more out of PulseChain with it just going to levels that it's been before. If PulseChain just goes to levels it was 2 years ago, it's a 28x on PulseChain.
Did you know that if HEX does a 100x this cycle, that would be 1,000. I mean, and if PTGC does a 10x against it, that would be 1,000x for PTGC, putting it at 0.11 cents. I mean, 0.11 cents. It would be at 11 cents.
Yeah, it's, you know, with a six, I would consider that a pretty successful PulseChain. I think that's obviously lower than some people thought PulseChain would be. That's only 7x sacrifice price for PulseChain, that scenario you just said. I would be super stoked with that at this point. And the benefit of being in the grays is we have growth going on right now. So just because PulseChain's been going down, PulseChain's been hitting new all-time lows, well, in the last few months, we've been able to go up 3x against PulseChain. And a 3x, you know, at the end of a cycle, multiplied whatever more x's we do, it's massive. You know what I mean? If we pull off another 10x against PulseChain, well, if you scoop those lows, you're up 30x against PulseChain. And then whatever PulseChain does, let's say PulseChain, like you said, does that 100x, well, that's a 3,000x.
Yep. I'd love a 3. Everybody would love a 3,000x.
And every time PulseChain has moved up in the past a significant amount, we've been able to do those 10x moves against PulseChain. It doesn't take much, especially if we can get a lot of those X's out of the way at the bottom that we're in right now. It takes very, very little to do a 10x against PulseChain right now, because PulseChain is so low in price.
Yeah. There's another question. Let's see if I can find it real quick. What happens if Pulse doesn't pump like we hope? Can we move with some counter pools? Well, like, I want to say like the whole market's going to move together pretty much.
Yeah. So the fear of PulseChain not moving, I think it's worth paying attention to where we are right now and where PulseChain was when PTGC launched. So when PTGC launched, PulseChain was 10x higher than here. So since the launch of PTGC, we've gotten dragged down by the blockchain 10x, and we're still at a 30 million market cap. If PulseChain doesn't move up with us, as long as it doesn't go down another 10x, we're technically in a better situation than we've ever been, as surprising as that sounds. If PulseChain sat at this price forever, the environment there is better than anything we've seen before on PulseChain. I know that's like a really sad reality, but it's the truth. So if PulseChain doesn't give us a 10x or a 20x or a 30x like we're hoping it does, I think we still have the tools to be very, very successful. And then the cool thing is you have the ability to be super successful within PulseChain. So you can be doing X's, you could be making gains, but if PulseChain ever does happen, you have the exposure you need to it to change your life so quickly because of the bonded liquidity. So, you know, yes, we could sit here on PulseChain. PulseChain could be at these lows for a while. You know, there could be washing. Richard could be waiting people out. You know, Richard could be waiting for a massive alt season or not. Maybe it just sits down here. I don't think it sits down here forever. I think these low prices are an opportunity on PulseChain. I do think people need to consider it maybe not doing as many X's than they thought it could.
Sure.
You know, a lot of people thought we were doing 10x, 100x sacrifice price, where I think people need to kind of bring it down a little bit and just understand crypto's changing and PulseChain's a decently large thing. But 100x from here is only a 7x sacrifice price. I think a 50x from here is only a 3x sacrifice price, which is pretty much prices we've been before. The all-time high is pretty much 50x from here. And I think us hitting those all-time highs is doable. But the point is, if PulseChain just sat at this level, that's a better environment than we've ever seen on PulseChain, as surprising as that sounds. A slight uptick is where we've made some of our biggest moves. PulseChain has gone up 4x, 5x. We've gone up 50x. You know, these times, I believe, no matter what, are coming again. When Ethereum flips bullish, PulseChain will start moving up and we'll be able to do some serious X's. And this is how people won last cycle. You know, if you went into PTGC and whenever PulseChain started moving up, whenever Ethereum started moving up, you did life-changing amounts of X's. And it's not in a meme token that you threw $100 in or whatever. Like PTGC is a very large, battle-tested protocol where I think people could take a little bit more risk in by holding a little bit more value in, because it actually has the liquidity and community to kind of back it. So even just those 50x moves, that's just one of the moves. We did multiple 50x moves. You know, I think those are pretty decent life-changing moves, even if you look at the environment. For an example, PTGC went to a 400 million market cap. That got us in the top 200 of crypto. And PulseChain was the exact same price at that point than when PTGC launched. So we didn't get 1x from PulseChain. So, you know, that question, well, what if PulseChain doesn't do anything? Look at what we did when PulseChain didn't do anything. We got all the way to a 400 million market cap with not 1x from PulseChain.
I pulled up just while you were talking, I pulled up the liquidity impact on volume calculator, and I put it in a 3x on the liquidity change, which would put PTGC at $7.6 million in liquidity and UFO at $5.6 million in liquidity. Haven't we had that? Do you remember what our liquidity was at the top, like the previous February?
Yeah, both of them were around 20 million. So we had like 40 million in liquidity, I think.
Okay. The reason I brought that up is because I mean, I know what my bag would earn at that volume level. And we weren't seeing a million. And the calculator is showing me that a median week at that liquidity level, which is a 3x from here, would be $1 million. And I know our volume wasn't $1 million. It was in the hundreds of thousands, but it wasn't $1 million.
Yeah, our average, I think, near our top, our monthly average was around 500,000 a day, if I remember correctly, for both PTGC and UFO.
Right.
But that was more than a 3x of liquidity. That was, pretty much a 10x of liquidity.
Right. So I'm just trying to, it seems to me, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm right that that there's an additional opportunity at this low, right? To make extra yield when we return, to make even more yield when we return to that.
There's an opportunity right now within PTGC that never existed before. You have PulseChain so low right now, it's giving people discounts on PTGC tokens and UFO tokens that should, in my opinion, never even be here. Like I never thought PulseChain was going to go this low. I think a lot of people never thought PulseChain was going to go this low, but the truth is it's this low, right? It's here. It's 10 times lower than when PTGC launched. There's an opportunity there to get in quantity of tokens a lot more than you would have got if it never went down here. And then if you believe PulseChain is going to be successful, if you believe in Richard, if you believe in HEX, if you believe in PulseX, if you believe in PulseChain, that means from here, your X's are so much more just back to levels you've been before, which is great for APY. If you can get more tokens for cheap, that is great for APY, right? If you can get 3 times the amount of tokens for spending $10,000, you're increasing your APY by 3 times as long as we get back to the levels that we should be
at. Our volume in February 2025 was $21.6 million for the whole month. So let's see what that is for per day. Divided by 29, I believe. Wait a second. Divided by 29, $745,000. That was our volume, daily average volume last February. $745,000. That was just PTGC.
Yeah, and again, that's with PulseChain literally the exact same price that it was when PulseChain launched, or when PTGC launched.
What did you say, Prey? 21 million in volume for the whole month?
Yes. Let's
on just PTGC.
Yep.
Well, that would average 700,000 in volume per day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. 745,000.
Does that sound right, Zen?
I'll go back.
Yeah, I was saying that I remember the average in our highs being above 500,000 a day. So I wouldn't be surprised if our actual highest month was higher than that.
Oh, no, I mean, right now, was he talking about like this previous month?
No. 25.
Highs.
Oh, okay. I was like,
there you go. Now we're tracking. Yeah, that was, and even that all-time high period, it was a good period, but it was still like for crypto, it was like blah, it wasn't super exciting back then.
Yeah, we were pretty happy with our bag. We were winning super hard, but overall, PulseChain wasn't even that sacrifice price. So,
yep.
And there's a couple tokens that did well on other chains, but like even Ethereum at that time, like people weren't beyond stoked on the price or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing, guys, is the price obviously of Richard's ecosystem going where it is means that the people who want it out are getting out. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but for a system like the Grays, it really does make it lighter. And like you said, Zen, it's a stronger opportunity now than ever. We didn't know that it was going to take 4 years to shake out the VPNs, dude.
Yeah. I wonder if Richard knew. Probably not.
Well, the truth is the winds didn't go in Richard's favor this cycle with anything, and he couldn't foresee any of that. The only thing that went in his favor was the win from the SEC case, and the damage was already done by the time he beat that. The damage was already done because we were so far through into the cycle that it really couldn't affect anything,
Charles says on every RH ecosystem dip, PTGC will take in massive DAO funds to buy and burn, to build deeper liquidity pools, etc. The result will be exponential up and to the right alien tech power.
Yeah, and on top of that, Mando, just last cycle was just such a poor alt token cycle. And obviously, I think people can consider PulseChain in a way an alt token. So,
of course it's an alt token. Yeah.
So yeah, you could just also add that into the mix. Yeah, he did beat the SEC a little bit late, but I think if the alt season and Ethereum went higher, our cycle would have been drastically better. But it just died off so early. Just the value wasn't there. And I think that's okay. I think the suppression that PulseChain has had and the suppression alt tokens and Ethereum has had, as long as PulseChain comes back and, and PTGC and UFO, we keep doing our thing, I think that suppression is actually really good long-term for the foundation of PTGC. Because what it's given us is the opportunity to just really focus on the machine itself and our community itself and build a foundation that I think at this point can't go anywhere. Like, we're getting so strong with the LP size, the fact that we're adding every single day, the fact that we've been able to generate revenue at another bear market at all-time low prices. We're able to buy and burn tokens down here. We're at a 30 mil market cap. If we're higher, we'd obviously be buying and burning tokens at a way higher market cap, which means less tokens for the dollar value. And it goes on. And you can even say this about PulseChain. Activity is low, but since prices are low, at least we're still buying and burning a lot of PulseX with every transaction, etc. And I do think we can make it out of it when the value starts flowing back into crypto. Right now, there really is no value flowing into crypto. If you look at YouTube views, if you look at what people are searching on YouTube, if you look at, increasing of people on crypto Twitter, you even heard, the Binance founder talking about this, how he hasn't picked up any new followers. And last cycle, he was picking up hundreds of thousands or something like that. It's just suppressed. And as long as you keep pushing through the suppression, I think we're building up pressure and the pop will be that much bigger.
I think that obviously we had a massive meme coin alt season, right? The season was topped when Trump launched that damn coin, and that really was the pop of the season. But the second part of that is, no, we all thought that we were going to get regulatory clarity and regulatory framework and the Genius Act and the Clarity Act and all these different things that were going to make the bigger money and the bigger entities really push out more capital. It didn't happen, you know, but it's a fact that everything is going on the blockchain. So it's one of those things where, you know, you have that. It turned out to be a standard cycle, as standard as the cycle could be. Bitcoin's price front ran the halving a little bit, and it ended up being literally to the T a pretty standard cycle. So if that's reality and regulatory framework has been pushed back a little bit, we've got 5-6 months to a bottom of this cycle from peak to trough. That's it. And then, you know, we move into a different paradigm. And Richard, you know, one of the things about Ethereum is it's on the list straight from the SEC and the CFTC is it's not a security. It's staking's not a security, all that different stuff. It's all been put out there, right? Well, that's what PulseChain is. So we know who runs the thing. We know who's behind the thing. Very smart guy. The winds just didn't blow in his favor. And it is what it is.
Yep.
You know, but we would be really stupid to not recognize that we're in a very high speculation marketplace in this environment, in this industry. Sometimes the wind doesn't blow in your favor. Now, for people that decided to look at PTGC, for people who were on PulseChain and got involved with PTGC, the winds blew very much in your favor. Even though the winds didn't blow too well in PulseChain's favor. That's something that really should be brought up and talked about, because even now, the people who got in and held and did what they wanted to do, they're still doing very well, even with PulseChain down, the amount of X's it's down. 5-6 months to a bottom. If you, in quotes, look at normal standard cycles. Bitcoin halving again, I think when is next Bitcoin halving? I think it's 2028 first quarter. The entire world is going to blockchain technology.
Yeah, 100%.
It's one of those things where you just have to, you have to see the forest through the trees, right? And just have a little bit more patience than thinking you were going to be driving a Lambo in 2 years. Even though some people could be driving a Lambo in 2 years. Just have to have some perspective. That's it with this thing. But man, the way that it works, the ability for it to pivot, the ability for it to go out into the marketplace and bring back in real world assets. You know, I do think, Zen, that we're going to have tokenized IRL legacy assets on Ethereum. You know, like you'll be able to buy Tesla, you'll be able to buy silver, you'll be able to buy, you know, Amazon stock, you'll be able to buy whatever the hell you want, whatever derivative, whatever, all that stuff is going to get tokenized and put on Ethereum, I believe, because everyone is talking about that. This protocol has the ability to bring all of these things into its index on PulseChain. So for me, it's crazy, but PulseChain is just a layer one. It's a base layer, which delivers Gray's currency, security, and cheap fees. That's what it's here for. The system's collected a ton of its ecosystem. It's running on its ecosystem. It's done super well in terms of its performance for the environment that it's been in. Winds didn't blow the right way. But like you said, looking at the math, just the math, that's the opportunity. And we've got about 5 months as a community, 6 months as a community based on a normal market cycle to take advantage of that.
Yeah, obviously you don't know exactly how far stuff could fall, but when you talk about, the close peak to the bottom of the bear market being 5 months down the road, do you think that's a lot further down for PulseChain and Ethereum?
Yeah, you know me. I've been posting in the groups and putting it out there for quite some time. I've been very vocal about my position, and I think that we have one large leg down left to go in Bitcoin. And
what's a large leg in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that Bitcoin needs to go probably into the 40s. And I think that Ethereum could easily go to 1,500, maybe even 1,000. And people will sit there and they'll laugh and they'll say, there's no way that can happen. But I don't care what you say. I've been around probably longer than you. So, but in terms of PulseChain, I just don't see the effect of that much more. Most smart people know that that's a very quick wick down. When you hit those moving averages, it'll only stay there for like a matter of days or weeks, and then it gets immediately shot back up, right? So that's not a stay down there forever. That's kind of get down there, something happens, boom, it goes down there, and then it gets purchased back up by the big boys, and then you're off to the races again. And the halving is coming. It's not like, let's look that up. When is the next Bitcoin halving?
Yeah, in last cycle, we front ran that. We're all the way into all-time highs by the time the halving even happened.
Yeah, April 20th, 2028.
For 2 years.
I left it out by accident. Yeah. So I do think that gives multiple opportunities for grace for our community, because obviously that's going to allow us to purchase legacy assets for cheap prices. And if that's available to us between here at these prices and lower, you're going to see a wider liquidity web into legacy assets, I believe. And I don't think Ethereum is going to be staying at these prices for much longer, dude. You got everything stablecoin in terms of the stablecoin environment going on Ethereum. Nobody trusts any other chain outside of Ethereum to do the stablecoin thing because it's just not decentralized enough.
Yeah, I think that brings up a good point, Mando, that like what PTGC today is not what PTGC will be in the future, as far as like what is in the liquidity web, how much value is back in the liquidity web, and even like just the community in general. Right now, we're still in this phase of being a speculative play because we're on a very speculative blockchain, and the blockchain has gone down so much. Our prices are still so low and our liquidity is so low. But with just a rough uptick on this chain, not even the all-time high levels, but just the levels we've been to before, the growth that we've done in these low levels is going to be very noticeable. And I think it's important for everyone to recognize, right now we're still speculative. We still have the ability to do technically hundreds of exits. And once we start going into these higher ranges, what PTGC becomes and what we believe it will be isn't just an index of RH tokens, but it can be an index of legacy gas tokens, Ethereum. There could be wrapped Bitcoin tables in there. And like you said, there could be even real life tokenized assets in there as well. And obviously that's, you can't make, any decisions off of what the future could hold, because those are just what could happen in the future. But, for me, I have a vision of what I think PTGC could be in the future. And it's very unique, and everyone right now has the opportunity to kind of get their bag and be along for the ride if you're here on PulseChain. I think that's where a lot of the opportunity lies for people on PulseChain, is the fact that they actually have the opportunity to see PTGC when it's still speculative, because most people won't have this opportunity. Most people, when they stumble across PTGC, it could already be a $3 billion market cap with $100 million in liquidity, generating millions of dollars a day in volume. Like, that could be most people's entry into PTGC into the future, which probably is still better than a lot of assets out there. But we do have an opportunity here on PulseChain. If you've been in these trenches, you see PTGC. 99% of other tokens aren't going to make it. You can look at your wallet right now, look at what's in your wallet right at the moment. And I think it's worth revisiting what is going to be here this coming cycle and, throughout the next 10, 20, 30 years, however long blockchain and PulseChain exist, hundreds of years possibly. I think the answer is PTGC. And you have the opportunity to get your position now to where you don't have to fill it up later. Just like how Bitcoin was speculative at one point and transitioned into store of value, just like Ethereum was speculative at one point, just like Solana was speculative at one point, just like BNB was speculative at some point. But then they made that transition to pretty much a true store of value. I think PTGC has the ability to do this too. The opportunity that lies for PulseChain users is the fact that you even know this thing exists. And then PulseChain has given you the opportunity to get the size position that maybe you want, but you would have never gotten if PulseChain didn't go to these lows.
Well, it's like you said, it should have never existed, right? The opportunity like this, we just got kicked in the face right out of the gate by our own government. Is really what really took this thing out. But the ability now to go into a new cycle, I honestly believe that Richard on Richard's end, he's just building what he wants to see in the world, what he wants to use. And he's doing things on his chain. And he's a very patient guy. He doesn't care about how fast, things happen. Most people that got in, they care. They're just not willing to wait because they saw what HEX did. But that was never a guarantee of where the winds were going to blow, unfortunately. But that's just a reality. When you're throwing your money into a black hole called a sacrifice that's never been done before. You go back to the ICO craze, even like starting with EOS and stuff like this. Like all the ICOs that ever took in money that technically did it illegally because they were actual legitimate ICOs, none of them even exist anymore. Like, they just don't exist. They just took your money and bounced, right? PulseChain exists very strongly. It runs. It's a legitimate, different version of Ethereum. And the Grace currency is sitting very nicely on a very robust, secure blockchain. Yes, it doesn't have Etherscan. Who gives a damn? Grace doesn't need a great Etherscan to do well. And those upgrades can happen later with success. But Grace actually can just look, when you look at the liquidity, I saw some of you guys some of Shaka's posts this week and looking at the liquidity, the system doesn't need any more cores. It's got the cores, right? I think the system's like nearly, like with HEX, it's almost like rivaling the actual liquidity that's on chain for the whole system, right? So the system now can continue to generate revenue and bring in legacy assets and turn PTGC into a true financial product, a true financial index of not only the cores from PulseChain, but some of the best EVM assets and in real life tokenized assets in the world that the biggest investors buy. That's where the future is heading, in my opinion, with the Grays. And even with a small uptick in price and a small uptick in volume and a small pump on PulseChain, it supercharges the ability to generate revenue for this ecosystem. And now that system can go out and bring in things that are not so RH-esque stuff, just to be diversified. And those are new revenue centers. But they also represent things that can completely explode the liquidity pools and the unique mechanics that drive the system behind this protocol. So personally, for me, I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I believe that is going to that mission will be complete within the next 6 months, in my opinion. So it's going to get very interesting. I also think that people realize that PTGC probably bottomed at 20 million or around 20 million. And I have a lot of people that are like, dude, if it goes back to 20 million, I'm backing up the truck. And they're it kind of gave them the gauge of where this thing bottomed in a way. So that last capitulation, if there is one, but I believe that there will, that last kind of downtrend for the market will be that last downtrend, in my opinion, where you may be able to pick something up near that place again. And if we can, do you think that the Dow's not going to be freaking buying up those tokens on the cheap? Absolutely. Because that's what it does. If holders let it go down there, the system's just going to be buying those tokens and getting them off the market, never to be seen again. And all the yield goes to the current holders, because when those tokens go offline, the yield that was associated to those tokens disappears. So I'm excited for the next 5 or 6 months, to be honest with you, to see where the market goes, but not for Bitcoin and ETH, to watch the Grays, because it's the most unique system I've seen in crypto. And wherever that lands, Zen, it's gonna tell us a lot about what the liquidity pools are going to look like, how it's associated to the markets, and the potential for what Richard's going to do on his chain, even though we can win without it.
Yeah, and also just listening, the Grays automatically adds to RH token LP PLS with every single transaction for the rest of the existence of PulseChain.
Yeah.
We know that the code cannot be shut off. We know that there's massive BERT LP pools. Pretty much this system is going to run for as long as PulseChain runs, and every single transaction for how long do you think PulseChain will be around for? Do you think it'll be around for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 100 years? Every single transaction within PTGC will always add to that PLS pair forever. It's renounced code, can never be shut off. I think it's interesting to look into the future. If PulseChain becomes successful, relevant, and sustainable, what this system can look like 10 years from now. People in Ethereum's over 10 years old, Bitcoin's over 10 years old. Time flies. Look at PTGC's already 2.5 years old. Let's say just we're a quarter of the way there. We'll blink an eye, and next thing we know, it's 10 years out. People have locks 10 years out. And I just think, the system at that point is just going to be so different than what it is today as far as price, liquidity, volume. But just keep in mind, guys, every transaction will add to that PLS pair forever.
How much pulse do we have in the main pair now at this bottom?
$33 billion right now.
We have 33 billion pulse at all-time lows of the blockchain.
Yeah, man.
In just the first pair.
Yep.
And when we started, I remember the goal was to get 5 billion in there. And that was not with PulseChain 8x lower. It's insane.
It's crazy, man.
It's super interesting.
It's super interesting.
And it's just interesting to think about, like, how the structure of even just a blockchain works, how everything's paired to the gas token. And as the gas token increases, users are going to buy PLS, not out of our pairs, but out of pretty much the main Ether stable pairs. And then a lot of times they go and take that PLS and they speculate with it. They want to put it in a vessel that has the ability to do more X's or pays them APY or whatever, right? PTGC hits a lot of these categories. And we've seen in the past, a lot of the time that value goes to PTGC, even if it doesn't even go to PTGC, if it goes to PulseX, HEX, you name it, we pretty much have it at this point.
Well, like, let me give you an example. Like, I think the DAO right now, the last I looked, has like, I don't know, it was like 65 G's of just stables in it or something like that. I don't know, somewhere around there, right?
62 or something.
Okay. And then, I don't know, you guys can look up like what the full amount of the DAO is sitting on at the moment, but it's 2,000 Ethereum, $2,000 Ethereum, basically. Well, let's just say, for example, that 5 months from now, ETH goes down to 1,500. The DAO sitting on like 90 G's of stables, and it goes to 1,500. You're talking about the potential for getting, whatever amount in there, 60, 100 Ethereum in the LP. Then this is just one example, right? So now you're people are looking at PTGC. They're seeing or like, for example, you could pop a Bitcoin in there right now, or 2 Bitcoin in there right now. But this doesn't stop. So when you're looking at the LPs, and all of a sudden you're seeing, the Grays owns 100 ETH. It owns 3 Bitcoin, right? That wasn't there before. Well, when does that stop? And as the founder, I think it's important for you to kind of, it's important to kind of talk about a vision of the future, not expectations, but the potential for that. Because the truth is that part of it doesn't stop, Zen.
Like Hopo does with the DAO, in the future is obviously constant evolution. We don't know what crypto is going to look like 10 years from now, but that's what makes PTGC, I think, stronger than every other crypto out there, is that we can evolve in a decentralized and automated way with the cycles, to where usually the evolution of cryptocurrency makes tokens obsolete, where I think we excel in the evolution, because we aren't able to not only like adjust with the evolution, but we actually have funds to capitalize on the evolution, which is very, very important, because there's a lot of projects that can launch with an idea of capitalize on the evolution, but they actually don't have any money, right? 99.9% of projects actually have no money whatsoever. Their only goal of existing is to get the money out of your wallet specifically. So that's one very unique thing, is we know crypto is going to evolve, and we actually have a tool to adapt to the evolution and take action on it, where most tokens can't take action. Even if they see it, they don't have the value to take action on it. And I think we're at pretty much low levels of value generation here. I think we can increase it drastically from these levels in the hundreds of X's, and we could have to a point where it feels almost endless amounts of value to take action. But, you know, where evolution takes us, you know, right now, I think we're speculative. We have a very speculative liquidity web. But I do think as time goes, the community is going to decide to not only be speculative with some plays. You know, I think the Dow can take speculative positions for quick gains and good volatility, but I do think that it will also evolve into more of a sustainable system that's pairing with not only RH tokens with the automated functions, but also focusing on some more legacy pairs as well, for the fact that there's tons of real value behind them. Ethereum, for an example, why do you think every big corporation is building on top of Ethereum right now? It's where every stable coin is that has any value behind it. It's trusted. But then on top of that, you know, you have the fact that we know they're not going anywhere. The fact that we know companies and institutions are going to be buying those probably forever. With speculative plays, you never know if companies or institutions are going to be buying them. And I think that people in their own portfolios want to be indexed to speculative things, but also want to be indexed to legacy things that are less risky and have value behind them. And I think PTGC has the framework to make that evolutionary process and become a system that, you know, the goal of being a top 50, if not more, cryptocurrency, and being better than all the VC projects that currently exist that aren't true crypto.
Now, when you sit in the daily Mario Nafal's, you know, space with all the biggest hedge funds guys and the guys, you know, I do it very often, because that gives you a very good idea of what the biggest investors in the world are thinking about. It gives you an idea of getting the right winds of what the regulations are doing, where the money is looking, where the money's going, all these different things. Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin and Ethereum.
And
I ain't talking about
this, Mando.
anything else.
So, wow. If there was something over time, like this wouldn't happen in a year or anything, but if there was something that made its way, a grassroots project that made its way into the top 50 of cryptocurrency, that those big entities could actually put value in and feel comfortable. The only thing I think that's a little bit of a hurdle for them is the fee. But once they understood where that fee is actually going, personally think PTGC is the product these big systems are looking for. It's, or just a single big player. It's something that's fully decentralized, fully automated, with burnt liquidity that pays you APY in a trustless way. It can never be turned off, and it's a deflationary asset. And people understand the fact that scarcity drives value. Some sort of trickled in demand. We're doing very well, you know, with just this small 3,000 person of $500 or more community. But imagine what that could be when we get it to 6,000 people who own $500 or more, or 10,000 people, or 20,000 people. Like, we're still at such a infancy stage. But I do believe if there was a product that they got behind, a product that cryptocurrency needs, it's this trustless built-in APY in a hyper deflationary system where you can actually do X's.
Zen, we lost you. There are 3 questions on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead with them.
JV Minery asks, in your opinion, what do you think RH thinks about PTGC in general and regarding the LP with his tickers?
At this point, I don't think he wants a bunch of LP on his chain. It seems like he's going to thin it out, or he wants to thin it out. But, you know, that's kind of the opportunity that he has let happen with prices get so low. We have the ability to pair, and when he or if his community pumps their tokens, they have to pump PTGC with them now. It's just, that's how these systems work.
Yeah.
And we understood these systems from a very early time, and that's why we made those moves. If it's ever go time for PulseChain, because of bonded liquidity, he has to pump PTGC and UFO with it.
Yeah, it's unavoidable.
I'll say this though. Say this based on my connections and what I understand about the back end of the thing. He has no real idea what it is.
Oh.
In the very same way, he had no freaking clue what the hell was going on with PDI until it became a problem on his chain, because he does not pay attention to anything outside of his core because he's way too busy doing other things and living life. I don't think he cares. I don't think he pays attention. And that's based on knowing some people that are doing things on the chain, So I don't think he cares. It doesn't matter, because what he did was teach people like Zen how to capitalize on immutable, unchanging, audited code like Uniswap, which turned into PulseX. So when you buy Richard's assets or suite of assets and you pair with them and you burn that liquidity, Richard can't do anything about that. In the same way that Ethereum couldn't do anything about Richard forking their network and even threatened to, hey, if they don't play, you remember the time prior we used, like, hey, if they don't play fair, I can do things kind of a thing too. And I think some of that worked out to his detriment, talking that way. But the Grace has been nothing but a asset to the chain and to his cores, because it's one of the only things that made a lot of his users money on his blockchain, and has been one of the main things that through the entire first cycle of his assets were net buyers the entire time. And locking them into pools. That's the opposite of negative externality. That's positive, right? So Grace is a positive performance amplifying protocol on PulseChain. It's done nothing but promote PulseChain, promote Richard's products, talk about Richard, partner with Richard, buy up Richard's tickers, burn them into the LPs.
100%.
Shaka was talking about it last week. Nobody on this chain, very few can say that they've partnered with RH more than the Grace currency. There's only a few other people that can say that.
Yo, that's absolutely true. Yeah, man.
So that's what I've got for that.
Blue Diesel asks, if RH with his cores beat the SEC, does that mean UFO and PTGC is pretty safe from SEC too? Well, that's a good question.
Well, yes, there's nothing, it's just a token on a blockchain.
Yeah.
There's nobody, it's decentralized code. There's nobody promising you anything from anybody. There's no expectations on Grace currency. You own it, you hold it.
Yeah. I would say we're pretty immune to any SEC.
If HEX is not a security, then how the hell is PTGC going to be a security?
Yeah.
They just came out, I think, last month with the list of, what's not a security. Staking's not a security. Earning APY is not a security from staking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And besides that, the SEC has really loosened up on cryptocurrency. Anyhow, the other question is from Harry Williams. Have we heard any, is there any word on the reward claiming? Remember earlier this week, we're having an issue claiming our rewards, something to do with PulseChain. and the validators perhaps going away, not going away. Some of the validators going off chain, going offline. And
No, that has nothing to do with it. That has 0% to do with it. PulseChain has a ton of validators and nodes. If you have,
it was an RPC issue. There was like an attack going on towards RPC. I forget what.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the nodes.
It was like a dose attack or something like that. So I did some claiming, and it took a while for the transaction to go through, but the transaction did go through. We also ran into a little bit of the issue when we're sending out the rewards for the PTGC affiliate program, because it was right at the time of this situation with the RPC. But all those ended up going through. The ones that kind of got stuck, we ended up sending all those. So everyone's all paid out with the affiliate system. And then on top of that, the claims I've done during this time that were kind of stuck as well, those went through within 12 hours. So I think, give it a shot again. And if you're still having issues, switch to, I don't want to say better, but they've been seeming to work a little bit better. Some of the better RPCs that people are using right now to help with this.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I claimed some tokens also, some rewards on multiple wallets, and I didn't have any issue, but some people were. So I would just recommend.
There was a peak of this RPC issue, and it was pretty much like the first and the second. And this is when the questions came up. But now we're on the 4th.
Oh, cool.
And I don't really know if I haven't heard anyone else having issues. So if you were someone having a little bit of a struggle, if it was an RPC thing, and try it again. And if you're still having the issue, maybe switch your RPC.
There you go. So try it again, Harry. Let me know if it works. It worked for Mike. He just claimed, and then 2G's claimed today, no problem.
Any other questions?
No other questions on YouTube.
Yeah, so the 90-day average revenue generation is, what is it now? It's 74,000, 74,000 per month. This cryptocurrency is generating at all-time volume lows $75,000 per month in pure profit. It's not a bad business to own.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, and again, just to repeat it, what it is today is not what it's going to be in the future. $74,000 a month today could very easily be $1 million a month in the future with just an uptick of PTGC, the market, and PulseChain.
Oh yeah, and going back to the conversations in the bigger forum, in the bigger spaces with some of these guys, it's the market to everyone right now is just very wishy-washy. Like they have no clue, right? They should have a clue, because it wasn't what Raul Paul said it was. It was just a standard market cycle. So they should have a clue, because you got to revert back to the standard reality instead of believing it was a super cycle, right? It wasn't a super cycle. It was a standard 4-year cycle. So, yeah, you can just, now remember, if you go back to COVID, dude, the whole world freaking shut down with fear. They literally shut the economies of the world down. Crypto pumped like a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter about, we're going to war with Iran or whatever.
Right.
That's all just BS, guys. So cycles money flows wherever it's going to flow. Crypto is not going anywhere. Crypto is a future technology. We already know that. So it's funny how people's emotions override what they know is a fact in reality. What's a fact in reality is that the genie's out of the bottle with cryptography.
Yeah, absolutely.
14 years. What is it? What is Bitcoin now? Almost 15 years old, something like this, and it's still in its infancy. But yeah, it's been able to basically like force the whole world to adopt it. Even the biggest governments in the world to have massive issues within itself figuring out how they're going to regulate it because they can't stop it. But the main two conversations are Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's the main thing right now. And PulseChain is a very serious fork of that network. That's 100% compatible with that network. That can take in every single BIP into the network. And I don't think that. And the last thing is the guy that founded Pulse, whether people like him or not, he's a very formidable individual in the world. So yeah, the market cycle may have not gone in his favor, but I just have this feeling like if you were, it's kind of a speculator's dream, Zen, to be honest. Speculation is one of those things where, you know, you can call it a gamble, you can call it whatever you want, but especially in crypto, if you're speculating, if you're a speculator, you like high risk, high reward situations, Gray's currency, dude, is like top tier blue chip AAA speculation.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity now. You know, you're talking about Richard and like what this chain could hold as adoption of Bitcoin and Ethereum, which we all assume that crypto is going to keep getting adopted. You know, these are the blue chips. These are the tokens that pretty much companies, governments are looking at, Ethereum, Bitcoin. And what does that mean for PulseChain? I think it's just worth everyone kind of focusing on them as an individual for what this means for themselves, because I look out for themselves as an individual. Not only like we're also looking out for the entire PulseChain community, we're also looking out for the whole Grays community. But if you, as an individual, you know, last cycle people did very well with PTGC, right? They swapped some of their cores, or maybe they brought in fiat or stables and they got some PTGC. And as an individual, they did very, very, Grays community did very, very well. But there is something very unique now compared to last cycle with PulseChain, because PulseChain is so low. And as an individual, I feel like the opportunity to succeed here has drastically increased, not only because prices are so low, and just going back to, you know, let's say prices that it launched at, you're up 50x or, you know, 25x, you know, depending on where you want to hit the marker. But also for Richard to kind of get some momentum back behind him, it takes so much less now than it did in the future, or did in the past, sorry. Being because it takes less value, and he can push people up a 10x, and a lot of people still aren't even in profits. So I think as an individual, you have to say like, hey, we're all in crypto to make gains. Like everyone's here, if it's passive income, quick X's, or, you know, you want to just get into a product and hold it long term, and then you want those X's in the future, whatever it is, if it's quick meme coin flips or long-term holds or APY protocols, whatever it is. But the opportunity on PulseChain right now, specifically, I believe in PTGC, is massive for changing your life. but you have to take action on this discount. Could go a little into things. But I think even just in general, these ranges are very minimum risk to so much reward, like you're saying, the speculator's dream. Because, yeah, it could go a little bit lower. How much lower? Who knows? I don't think much personally, but the upside potential from here is so huge. And for Richard to make up here, it cost him so much less than when prices were at sacrifice price and stuff like that. And I personally think even with it being so low, he starts helping, or, you know, even if the community can just get the price moving in the upward direction, we have a lot of ground to run now before we start hitting some of these major resistance levels compared to last cycle.
Well, not only does it cost less, but, you know, it's so like, dude, Gray's deployed at like under 100K market cap with no liquidity, with good liquidity, basic good liquidity, but now it rivals the chain's liquidity. And
we said, you know, years ago that was our goal, and we were going to try to do what we could to make that happen.
And we you know, it was the whole tail wagging the dog kind of a thing, right? And all of a sudden, we find ourselves in a position where PulseChain is where it is now. There's that much more investors gone that had weak hands, that didn't want to stay. They couldn't stay. They wouldn't stay. Whatever. It's fine. But now the Grays is sitting at a $33 million market cap with LPs that are rivaling some of the main core chain LPs, not at 100,000 market cap, 33 million, with a chart that if you look at it and you go to the logarithmic chart, you can see, you know, the problem is, you know, it was a very good stream you guys did the other day with the gentleman. I can't remember his name at the moment.
Dallin.
Yeah, good guy, man. He knows what he's talking about TA wise on a lot of that stuff. I appreciated that he brought that to the table. You know, it's kind of like B. But a lot of the times, like, people will look at that USD chart and they don't understand. They'll see it, and Zen, this is very important. They'll look at the PTGC chart, and all they see is this big up and then this big down. And in their mind, it's just another meme coin pump and dump thing. They have no idea what it is, what the math is behind it, right? And I get that, and I understand why that is, because that's the default position. But that's also like, we've got to find a way to make people realize without, you know, vomiting too much information, that the USD chart is not indicative of everything else you see. And I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure out a way to make people understand the opportunity that's right now on this thing. But the only way that they can really get it is to actually give them a higher level walkthrough, you know, and unfortunately, like, a lot of people just aren't. If they're not crypto people, that's very difficult for them, right? So
yeah,
I think
they can't even understand a high level walkthrough if they're not crypto people, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I even find with very experienced crypto people, PTGC, with some of the ideas that we educate on, they're completely over a lot of advanced crypto people. People who have been here multiple cycles, over a lot of their heads.
Yeah, it is. But therein lies the opportunity, because the people who do understand and do see it and can go out in real life, go out and just say, look, if you trust me, you know, I'm not telling you what it's going to do, but You know, that's kind of like, but for the next 5-6 months, the target market should be people that kind of are in the space and getting a few core guys to actually understand this thing. Because you get one right guy understanding the thing, dude, and it can bring in thousands of people.
Yeah, you know, Dallin is a good one. I think even him, like, he's very much a chart guy, and I think he's bullish on PTGC and PulseChain because mostly the charts and how the charts look. Like, you even saw his eyes light up a little bit when we flipped over PTGC Pulse chart, not in USD, like, it, because it really shows how powerful we are even in the toughest environments. But if we could get him to fully understand the systems mechanics and how LP pools work, like I think he understands LP pools, but I don't even think a lot of people understand like how everything is ratio based in LPs. And as PulseChain moves up, you automatically get that, and your LPs automatically get that, and then that equals 2x value generation. Like when you start combining all those things, it's almost too much for someone to chew in one hour sitting like that. Especially when a lot of it was chart talk. But if, you know, Dallin's a great example of someone who has great content, great influence, has people who follow him for obviously information and education. If we could get a couple of people in like him, I think this is going to be a huge difference in this coming bull market. I'm hoping the affiliate program really helps with that. Because we have a system that actually rewards people who have influences based on their influence. But yeah, right now is the time to put in the groundwork and get these people in, because if they get in at these cheap prices and prices start to go up, they're obviously more financially incentivized to talk about it.
I also, when you go to CoinGecko, I very much appreciate that we are properly ranked, and we're currently sitting at number 596 in the world by market cap. We've been in the top 200, and that's not something that I take lightly. To be, you know, there's like, I don't even know. I think I heard there's like 1 million cryptocurrencies out there now or something. It's ridiculous, bro. You know, they're not cryptocurrencies, they're shit coins. But I do think that Grays is going into the top 100.
Yeah.
We've already been in the top 2. And when you start getting up there, that's kind of like going back to what you were asking before, and we kind of shifted over about larger entities looking, right? Well, in the conversations with the big boys, it's all about security. It's all about APY, trustless APY, the decentralized aspect of being able to stake Ethereum and earn Ethereum. And so that's why I'm excited about this next kind of phase, this kind of step 2 for the Grays, because to me, that gets the Grays. Currently, the Grays isn't in that category for me. It becomes that, it crosses over into that category when you have those legacy assets that the biggest hedge funds, that the biggest, most wealthiest people in the world are buying in the liquidity web. Because now they understand code. They understand when you own, they are all buying those assets and indexing those assets themselves. Right?
Yeah, I definitely think for a big player, you know, you're talking about getting big players in, you know, one of those, not only for like big players who aren't influencers, but even for people of influence, people who make content, the fact that we're on PulseChain has always been a little bit of a hurdle for us.
It's
right?
not a little bit of a hurdle, it's a massive hurdle.
Okay, massive hurdle.
Yeah.
Because they're not talking about projects on PulseChain. If this product was success. I don't think this product can run as good on another blockchain, but let's just say in an imaginary scenario, it was on another blockchain that other large people were on. There's not a lot of large people on PulseChain quite yet. I think a lot of them would have picked up PTGC and UFO. But because we're being suppressed by this chain, we kind of went under the radar to a lot of these, these other big players. And like you said, by us combining with and adding LP, not only for diversity, but also generation that we get, we've seen that ETH is pretty much our, if not one of our top performing pairs every single day. I think it's going to help us make that connection with some of these big players. And then hopefully PulseChain this cycle kind of does a little bit better and these people start seriously as well. Okay, I got to go for a second.
Prairie, you got anything?
Nope. Nothing on YouTube.
I got a question.
Shoot.
Who is this?
So, with Bitcoin and Ethereum being the main two, would obviously the DAO make decisions on the future next big player index tokens? Has anybody considered like Solana or anything?
Solana is it's not an EVM, right? And that would obviously not be the default position for generating legacy assets in the web. The default position would be the two that have the most clarity and are the most liquid and have the mind space of the biggest people in the space. But yeah, bridging in Solana, it's not an EVM chain in that sense.
I got you. I kind of like the legacy Bitcoin and Ethereum. That works out great over a long period of time.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, PTGC is an index, and as the DAO generates income and goes through cycles, obviously the number one thing that the protocol wants to do in the math is to increase the value, the price, the USD price of the PTGC token, right? So the math is literally designed to, over time frames, increase the value of PTGC. And it has done that. It has astronomically done that in a very difficult environment. So even down, currently 90-something plus %, the people who initially got involved with PTGC, they're still up. I don't even know how many X's, hundreds of X's still or whatever, right? And the price floor is much higher now because 13.17% of the entire supply has been purchased and burned off the market, which means that they weren't just sent to a debt address. They were bought out of the liquidity pools with real money and then sent to a pool that can never come back out into circulation. So the system is designed first and foremost to increase its holders' value, and that's what it's been doing. But at the same time, it has pivotability to constantly add more revenue centers into its liquidity web and to constantly enlarge its influence in the space. That's unique about the system. That's unique about this protocol, is that Bitcoin's obviously the number one global cryptocurrency in the world. ETH is the silver to Bitcoin's gold, and it's what everything's happening on right now. It's where all the stable stuff is happening for the decentralized stablecoin talk. Those are the assets that you want to start with. Now, you only have a cycle one time every 4 years in this market. So when you know where you're at, we are in a bear. The assets are cheaper now, and you only have so much time and so much capital to deploy. You just have to be smart about what you're doing with those things. Now, imagine the Dow is able. This is just a talk. This is just a illustration. Imagine the Dow is able to pick up 100 ETH at the bottom. All right, and then ETH goes to $15,000 per. So that's a $3 million liquidity pool. And let's say that you bought the ETH for $1,500, right? So you spent $150,000 on the ETH, and you turn that into a $3 million liquidity pool with the silver to Bitcoin's gold. And it's a massive revenue generator for the system forever. You don't have a lot of, you do not have a lot of systems out there that can say that they can do that they have the ability to constantly do that, and to be actually doing it right on the cutting edge of the information at the time of each cycle. That's very unique, man. You have a $3 million liquidity pool with Ethereum, and that pool is going to be making so much money for holders. It's not even funny, dude.
We compare with Bitcoin, even though it's not an EVM.
It is because it's been tokenized on Ethereum with WBTC.
Okay, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, we already have WBTC on PulseChain, but we have the ability to go to ETH and bring more over if we want.
Nice. Okay. Thanks, Mando.
Oh, thanks for the question, man. Yeah, so between now and, I would say October, it's going to get very interesting. April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, I mean, 5 months. 5 months, people, and if there's a dip on this protocol, not only is the Dow going to be buying, but there's a lot of other people going to be buying, because
Oh yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying, Prairie? Because the fact that it bottomed there and then basically over doubled in price just like that, it creates that new TA, and that changes everything.
Yeah. There are people still trying to get their dolphins, shark, and even whale positions in this ecosystem. The people that understand it are still stacking tokens.
And some people believe, they're hoping, let's put it, they're hoping that it will go down to that low more time.
Yeah.
They're hoping. They're hoping. They're like, man, my brother-in-law is one of them just the other day. Very successful, dude. Dude's killing it, dude. Big excavating guru guy.
Sweet.
And he's making a killing, bro. And he's just like, Mando, it goes back down to 25, bro. He just freaking wants to buy so much,
Does he have exposure yet?
Oh yeah, he's got a large position.
Cool.
but this is what I mean. This is a gentleman who had a ton, sold too early, right? Not all of it, but has a big position still, but sold a lot too early and was just kicking himself in the teeth. I've told you the story many times.
Yeah.
But now that he sees the TA, he's an options trader too. He sees the TA. He's like, oh, dude, it goes back down there, And so this is the issue is it's created a new TA environment down there for people who know that they believe that that's the bottom. That's close enough for me to not have to guess anymore. It's even close enough now, frankly. I mean, these people are on the edge at these levels. Right. But the reason, if you're seasoned, you know that we've still got 5-6 months of bear.
Somebody was asking in the chat where we think PTGC could go if Bitcoin went down to $40,000. And I speculate that it would add a zero and probably go down to where it was just about 2 months ago. At a zero and then about 7.3 in that range. But I don't know that we would go lower. What do you think?
Yeah, I think personally, this is not advice. This is my thoughts. I think that if Bitcoin goes down lower, it can go back down to where it was before.
Yeah.
Which is nothing.
Yeah.
I know it. It could go to 15 million in WIC, but
yeah.
But dude, like on an asset like this, and you're jibbing and chumming over like a 2x, do your thing. Do your thing. The system's handing long-term holders tokens every day. They're going offline and into wallets.
Yeah.
This is buying tokens and burning them every day and acquiring tons of stable coins to buy every day. So not only are you contending with people like myself and people like my brother-in-law and, the 3,000 or 4,000 plus holders and the people who are on the sidelines, but you're contending with the Dow.
Yeah. Yeah. The Dow burned like 9 million tokens earlier this week.
Yeah, and that's like, those are awesome burns, man. Like, very slowly and meticulously, these tokens are just, oh, you don't want those? You don't want those 10 million tokens? Okay.
We'll take them and burn them.
We'll put them in the debt address.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll save those for the we'll save those for the ETH liquidity pool. Okay. We'll save those for the Bitcoin liquidity pool. Okay.
We're just getting stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch it. But I don't think that you're going to see some major, sit down there forever kind of a thing. Because like I said, if you go back to where Bitcoin bottomed, if you go to TradingView and you go to the Bitstamp chart and you just look at like where Bitcoin bottomed and how long it stayed there, right? It happens really fast.
Yeah.
So let me see here real quick. Give me 1 second.
I'm back, guys, just so you know. Sorry,
Yeah.
I had to something for one of my guys.
It was like literally like 2 weeks, guys. It stayed down there in that 15,000, 16,000 range for 2 weeks. That was it. And then gone. Go ahead, sir.
So I wanted, since you're kind of talking about this like 6 more months thing, and we're talking about, hey, we're buying and burning tokens here. There's people in our community that want larger positions or to add their positions. There's onboarding that we can do. And if there is 6 more months of these low prices or even lower or a little higher, whatever that range is, or not, it doesn't matter.
If you could flip around tomorrow, yeah.
What could we do with this time to make our foundation even stronger for the next bull market? Banana was bringing up, we're buying and burning. The Dow's been buying and burning. UFO's been buying and burning. The automatic function within PTGC has been buying and burning. We can DCA. Existing people can DCA, even if that's a long-term bag. Maybe this DCA is their 10-year bag. Maybe this is a short-term bag. But just getting the tokens off the market here at very, very cheap prices, or it's onboarding, like increasing the communities with IRL people who know other IRL people who that do a 5X move are going to be like, holy wow, this is like the coolest thing I've ever been in. I 5X my money. Or like you were saying, Mando, kind of working at some of these larger players and getting them in at cheap prices. Because if we can get them in at cheap prices, they're more likely to talk about it when things start going up. And the larger we can make this community with IRL people, crypto people, DCAing just the community and growing our bags there, it's going to set that foundation for some serious growth whenever the markets do turn around. If that's a week from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, whenever it is, and wherever that low is, if we've already hit the low, or maybe PTGC goes a little low, who really knows, depending on what the general market does a lot. But I think the point is like, hey, we have time in front of us right now. There's so much we can do as a community with this time. We have 3,000 people with $500 or more. Try to make it a goal to onboard a couple people in the next few months. Try to make it a goal to DCA a little bit. Try to make it a goal to work on a large KOL that you may love and wish was in PTGC. For example, I know Banana's kind of trying to work on Sami a little bit. Like, I would love to have Sami in this protocol. He loves aliens. He loves UFOs. He's obviously a massive content creator. He produces like 3 videos a day. And we have time to do that right now in this bear market. These people like to buy cheap prices, and we have to remind them that the cheap prices are here. They can earn for onboarding. You can onboard and earn. I just think it's very important for us to use this time to our advantage and not just wait for alt season in quotes, because I feel like that's what most people do. And I think that's what's going to make us different.
I think that most people on PulseChain, dude, they're on fatigue, so everybody's kind of just taking a break. They've hit fatigue mode. But you're right. There's 5 months or so, give or take in quotes. People need to start maybe setting up those conversations with, maybe there are 3 to 5 people that they would like to introduce the Grays to, even if they're no coiners. That's actually a really good thing to do. Looking for these new individuals to put this in front of. And then I think some of the people like Prairie and myself and some other people, for example, Grays was sitting in a space yesterday with QuickSwap for 2 hours on aliens. And it was a phenomenal conversation yesterday. At the end of it, Grace Currency got a massive shout out in a nice sized group of people. We had some people follow the Grace Currency that even came into this space today. And PulseChain got a shout out as well. So just being active between now and then, even from official accounts and official socials that are just outside of the whole PulseChain thing, because the alien narrative is so big. It was interesting, Zen, because QuickSwap was hosting the space, and it was a cryptocurrency QuickSwap space, but about aliens, legitimately about aliens. What is this phenomenon of aliens, and what is it really? And they were bringing in people with actual in real life experiences. It was the most interesting thing. And at the end, the guy, because we sat in there for so long and we were, thumbs upping stuff and everything like that, at the end, we got a shout out. Yeah, there's also a Gray's actual alien currency in here, and gave Gray's Currency a shout out. And then another guy came on and said, yeah, it's on PulseChain. So that's the kind of stuff, man, that needs to start happening.
Yeah, definitely. We have a good sized community. 3,000 people is a lot, but it's also a little. You can do a lot with 3,000 people with everyone working together. If everyone just onboarded one person, if everyone just put in a few hours a week into doing something for PTGC, I think we can give any cryptocurrency a run for their money. We can get in front of any platform, likes, comments, shares, going into these bigger spaces, showing them support. Obviously, if we show them support, they usually give us a little thumbs up or a nod back, like it sounds like the main account just recently got. And we can do a whole lot down here at these lows. And what we do at these lows is a massive multiplier to our gains this next cycle. Like if our community could put in some effort here, and let's say we increase our value against PulseChain by 5x because of our hard work and hard effort down here, I'm sure everyone would love a 5x multiplier to their portfolio. Like, why wouldn't you? And that can be done just through some extra effort at the lows instead of just waiting for the market to come to you. We were talking about this earlier, real quick, Bando.
Sure.
I personally believe every single alt season is somewhat sparked by normal people changing their life forever. A token or a blockchain or something in the bear market doing X's that changes their people's lives before alt season. Because what brings people into crypto in retail? It's finding out about people changing their life through crypto. That's what brings retail in. And if you wait for retail to come in, you're behind. I think we should strive to be the token that actually starts bringing cryptocurrency in. And how do we do that? We do that by winning and doing X's before everything else. And I think we have the product, the community, everything we need to be that. And then we want to be that community. If that could be PulseChain as a whole, that would be awesome. But even if it's just us, to where people are finding out, wow, the PTGC community, everyone in that protocol is winning so heavily, right? And that's what I think, in retail, normal people start coming in because they hear about someone who's just a community member, maybe putting in extra effort, onboarding, but changing their life. People get FOMO when just average people are changing their life. Not saying that they're average in a bad way, but just hey, this person just works a job or has a small business and now he's financially free. How did he do that? And it's being a part of a good system early. And I think we have that opportunity here. We don't need to wait for anything or anyone. We need to start that now.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
What is up, Mondo? Man, I'm doing wonderful. Hello, Zen. Hello, Banana.
Hi, Holland.
How you doing?
Nice speaking to y'all, man. I'll be pretty shy when it comes to talking to y'all, but yeah, man, I enjoy the spaces all the time. I've been doing a lot of thinking, cooking up a lot of narratives for PTGC, and I just want to tell the whole community, thank you for supporting me. I really do appreciate it. And another thing is I try to break down and explain to people all the time. And I try not to shill it. I only shill PTGC and UFO because I know how people are. I only shill it when they ask me. And even when I give them the alpha, the videos, I tell them to go to, Banana channel. I tell them to follow the Gray's Currency and Mondo. It's like they be in disbelief, right? And I'm like, the magnitude of PTGC and UFO are beyond belief. And I also just recently talked to a coworker of mine, and he actually bought HEX and PulseChain when it first launched, and he got wrecked, right? But with everything I told him, he was so inspired. So seeing people that got beat up in crypto and they just not know, I feel like we're doing a great job at spreading the word, but a lot of people procrastinate on taking advantage of what the Gray's currency actually is. And I question myself all the time, like, where did Zen come from? Where did Prairie, Mondo, and Shaka Vibes come from? Because the protocol is just absolute. And it's great. I was going through numbers last night and looking at it like if PTGC was to hit $1, and I do believe that it's going to go there. But when it does, when it rips, that's the only time people want to buy. It's like when it's super expensive because they so distracted with IRL things. They distracted with like Bitcoin, Ethereum, FCC, regulations. And I'm like, look, this is a gem sitting right here, and you guys are going to miss out on this opportunity. And, at least I tried. At least I tried to spread the word. And
what do you think is putting them in that mind state of kind of, I think you phrased it like, they're kind of like apprehensive or however you phrased it. Disbelief. You said disbelief.
Yeah, disbelief. Deception. I feel like a lot of people struggle with that unsurety in life. Even normal people, I'm around them every day, but it's like I'm 24/7. I'm on the charts. I'm in crypto. It gets overwhelming for me, but I could break it down to my spouse, and she's like, "Wow, I can't believe you know all of this," and we live together. But she's like at the point to where, hey, I want to buy some crypto, but I just don't know what to get because it's so the ecosystem of every single blockchain is so many tokens, and it's hard to tell somebody, hey, go on the Block Explorer and look at this code.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, brother. It's like it's difficult to have a conversation about the grays in that sense because the KPIs that we know are so powerful and prove how this system functions and like where the math currently sits with the system. It's not easy to understand. It's not easy to comprehend, especially if you're a freaking no-coiner. That's the issue,
Yeah, it's like giving them a Rubik's Cube and telling them, hey, solve this. and we can give them the details. We could tell them so many times how fabulous PTGC and UFO are. And I even tell people, they ask me, how much should I buy? And I'm like, hey, just buy a small amount, stake a small amount, hold a small amount, and look at the results. And then come back and tell me what you think about it, 30 days later, 90 days later. And it's always, hey, man, I like this. Or like I was shilling it to Don Schiller months ago and even up until now, and he bought a bag at the Lowe's. And when I was telling everybody like how it was going, he was like, shh, hey, don't be doing that. So it's like once they get in and they hold it, it's a great experience. But yeah, man, it's so much stuff on my mind. I don't even know where to go from here. But a lot of people just underestimate PulseChain and what PTGC is, and then what PulseChain will do to PTGC in the long run. And they are missing out incredibly. And I always say this. I say, hey, if you got a little bit of PTGC, I feel bad for you. Because when it goes up, you're going to feel
want a lot.
like you should have got more.
Yep.
And even when you do get a lot and it goes up, you're going to be like, oh, man, I could have had millions of dollars. And it's due to, the LPs being locked. It's due to the burns. It's due to the tax and how it was all designed. It's just a beautiful mechanism. And, man, I'm here. I'm here.
I think that's the important piece. Like when you said they don't want to get deceived, that is obviously like one of the biggest issues is the security, right? That's why the capital is burned, right? Yes, the price can go down, but people have to realize this is very simple. The price can go down, but the amount of people that have enough tokens to make the price go down, like in any substantial amount, let's really have that conversation about go to the Block Explorer, look at the top 100 wallets, look at their activity, right? Look at the top 50 wallets. Look at the activity. Look at the activity from where they were at when their bags were worth $10 million, $15 million, and they didn't sell. And they didn't sell all the way down here. So the liquidity is burned. The distribution now is almost 3 years in. Almost 14% of the supply is gone. We're now down at a $33 million market cap. It's bottomed at a $20 million market cap. It may go down there one more time or less. It may. But in reality, the price can go down, but the system is going to keep doing what the system does. The system is continuously adding new holders every single week. It's continuously buying its own supply off the market and burning it every single week. We're 5 or 6 months from a normal market cycle bottom of Bitcoin and Ethereum. It could be front run, just like the halving was front run. We don't know what the markets are doing anymore. They're kind of unpredictable. But if it's a standard market cycle, we've got about 5 months of like serious sideways and then one big good down, and then we sit there for a couple, 2, 3, 4 weeks or whatever, and then it starts to recover, you know? So in terms of like security, like what do you want to buy? Do you want to buy some shit coin on a blockchain because some influencer dude put up a dog meme and paid a couple of guys to tell you how this is the next, to $1 billion market cap thing? Or do you want to buy something with 3 years of perfect, flawless operation with audited smart contracts that's generating $100,000 per month in revenue at the bottom almost, massive distribution, trustless APY, constant revenue generation, and is looking to add more revenue centers with legacy at the bottom of this market cycle, and then starting not from 100,000 market cap, but from a $30-40 million market cap this cycle. It's like, for the people who've been in, yes, it's been an emotional roller coaster. That's just what crypto is. Even for Bitcoiners, that's what it's been. But if you look at the market, if you look at the actual journey that this specific token has taken and where it's landed and what it's doing now, the math plus the burn liquidity, plus the current revenue generation, plus the addition, plus where we're at, plus the liquidity pools are down 8x from where we started, which is a massive opportunity. The thing just becomes so, it's like, it's blaring you in the face. It's like a green light just saying, buy. Yep. For anybody who knows anything. That's not advice. I'm just saying from that standpoint, the thing is the biggest speculation buy that's on the planet right now. So the interesting thing for me personally, man, and you know this because you see my post, is when we add legacy stuff into this, now I can go to even some bigger people that I know, and I can sit down with them and say, hey, look what this is. They just added 3 Bitcoin into the web. They just added 100 ETH into the web. And by the way, the system's generating 75,000 to 100,000 a month in revenue at all-time low volume. Imagine it just upticks a 2, 3, 4, 5x. Well, now it's bringing in $500,000 in revenue with no overhead. And it bottomed at a, $20, $30, $40 million market cap. And then Ethereum. Now, here's the kicker. When we see a confirmation on Bitcoin and ETH, and then we see that first confirmation on PulseChain, when PulseChain confirms that bottom, and we see a confirmed bottom, it turns around, goes back up, creates a higher low, and then busts through resistance, creates another higher low, and then boom, off to the races. Bro, what do you think's going to happen, dude? to this protocol.
My fault. I had a phone call. I'm back.
No, it's going to be very interesting to watch the emotions of people that jump into this thing once we see confirmations on the broader market and then a confirmation of a reversal on the blockchain.
Yeah, they're gonna ape in, man. That's another thing I see. Like I said, my coworker, he's not scared to like throw $1,000. He was like, bro, I'm gonna go check my wallet that I had. He said he was just throwing $1,000 at whatever on PulseChain, and I was like, what in the world are you doing? And he was like, man, I think I got some PTGC and UFO, and that's when I was trying to illustrate to him, like the new website and everything that was going on. So he was convinced. But I'm gonna make sure I follow up with him on Monday and see what he got going on, because man, it's gonna be an incredible ride. And I wish and I hope that people are willing to spend like $122, $150 to grab at least 1 million tokens, because then you're earning, significant rewards at that point. Like you can see them trickling in, especially once PTGC goes to $1, right? This is not financial advice. Do your own research, all that good stuff. But it is going to be amazing, man.
Yeah, keep those beats flowing, man. I'm enjoying them.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it, man. Oh man, yeah, about that post, man. I heard like every time I go to a space, bro, it's always somebody that see me, and then they want to take a swing, a little jab, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna animate some stuff. I'm gonna get some stuff going. So my playlist is wild. I always listen to music. I've been heavy like underground since I was a kid. I used to listen to like mixtapes from like DJ Screw and Swisher House, Michael Watts, and so I got a nice collection of songs I just enjoy. But yeah, I will keep them coming. Horses don't stop; they keep going.
Yeah, we appreciate that, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm thankful for y'all too, man. It's a true blessing, brother. Thank you.
If you ever need any help with anything too, man, just DM me. I love taking calls. I generally, will do it for, individuals that are serious, like a little bit more serious, if you know what I mean. Zen, sometimes I feel like, Zen, that if we had a Zoom that was like an actual like investor Zoom that was scheduled like once every week or once every 2 weeks or something, and people could just kind of like invite to that and almost do like a PowerPoint at this point to show people what it is. That's almost going back to my direct selling days. I've seen massive networks built in very short amount of time. So to go out and just invite people within the target market, which is obviously kind of people who are already in or interested, that might be something that we could do. And I've seen Zooms slammed with 100 people that show up to listen, and it's not on a space on X. So
Yep.
You got all these people. You're seeing a lot of different faces. You don't have to dox, But yeah, that's a great way to spark conversation and at least get some people looking at the chart, putting it on their watch lists, listening to the founder, all that kind of good stuff, as opposed to just sitting on X. A lot of people in real world, dude, are not just sitting freaking on X, bro.
Yeah, I feel like that's, right now with where it is, this is kind of where we should be focusing on too, is, there's not a well on X right now. Banana was just saying since September, X is saying engagement's down 93%. So, if we could go 1 second, sorry.
That's fine. We don't mind, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I remember those days.
Yeah, me too. That's an idea, though, to do a presentation, kind of a formal A more formal presentation.
It really is, because the whole YouTube space live thing, it does still get the feel of just another crypto thing. But when you have it in a formal PowerPoint presentation and you can actually present, you're presenting in the same way a corporate company would present, in the same way a top tier director in any direct selling company would present. It's one of the best and fastest ways to grow any network for any company that exists on the planet is a professional PowerPoint presentation. And I think that a lot, and the visuals of that, of what this is over the course of the last couple of years, can actually be presented in probably 50 slides. That would take, I would say, 25 minutes to half an hour to present.
Mm-hmm.
And this represents people who are serious. If you're going to sit down and actually learn about something and then open it up for questions, FAQ, dude, one guy comes in. Here's what I've learned. You bring in one person that is the one guy that knows 100 guys.
Oh, yeah.
That has $1 million. And the chart goes bye-bye. But sitting in spaces, it's tapped, So this is what Zen's saying, in real world, and then you couple that with, and by the way, all you have to do is just go connect, generate your own referral link, and anyone that you bring in, you're going to get a little dog,
Yeah, you get a little reward. Absolutely, man. I mean, we could put something like that together and then just advertise it to our community. Say, hey, if you got friends in high places, send them to this presentation. But that would be the thing, is how do we find those people? Well, it could be that if we did it regularly, like perhaps once a month or once a quarter, then those people will find us eventually. But I mean, I've told this to Zen a number of times that I'm after people. I mean, I would love to see people come into this ecosystem that aren't necessarily, well, the people that are already in other financial assets and successful there. I want to see them come over into the Grays currencies.
Yeah, man, I'll chime into that a little bit. I personally would love that, because to be honest, spaces and even the VC and the Telegram, that's not really a place I want to send normal people. It's just there's a risk there, especially Telegram. People, if they don't understand Telegram and how many scammers are actually lurking throughout Telegram, it's a very dangerous place for them. I was actually telling Banana recently that I was thinking about dropping one of my VCs in there and trying to come up with something else for community growth to replace it. And, I do think that the Zoom call idea would be a really great idea, and just kind of have our community kind of focus on, hey, just one. If you can bring just one person in new a month or a week or whatever that is, and then if that one person can bring in one new person a week, with that kind of mindset, if we got 100 people actively just bringing in one person that could be or could want, if it's a small amount or a large amount, you're mentioning, you never know when that is going to come in that wants to dip their toe in with $1 million, and really there's just not enough supply and chart would just go. But even if it's a small player or a large player, a medium-sized player, we could create that environment that I think is a big deal right now in crypto. You can sit on spaces or in VC where there's no new users, And we don't even need new users in Telegram or Spaces because it's not even the best place to send new people. But if we could create an environment, if it's once every couple set up for them, questions at the end could be answered. Even if there is no questions at the end, at least these users can just get a very in-depth presentation of what PTGC is and what it can offer. Obviously, but I do believe PTGC, as far as a product goes in the cryptocurrency space, is a needle in a haystack. There isn't a lot of products out there that can give you just the amount of reward with the minimum amount of risk. And I feel like if you have a genuine conversation with almost anyone and you give them the layout right now that we have as far as opportunity goes, most people have some sort of amount of capital that they're willing to risk. The hard part right now is the hurdles that you have to jump through to get $100 in or $500 in. It's quite a lot, right? So that's why you kind of like, hey, do you have over $1,000 because it is a process to get you into PTGC. But that being said, I do think that's going to get easier, especially with ProveX hopefully getting some liquidity soon. But I do think it's worth bringing in because even someone's entry at, let's say, $200 now, or let's say $500 now, very easily could turn into $5,000. And now that person has, you know, a bag that's worth talking about. And then you never know, they might educate someone and onboard someone or two people or three people. And that's what I think is so important about this IRL onboarding effort is these people have other real people that be exposed to something like that. The world's getting tougher and there isn't a lot of great places to store value where you can get the price appreciation to really set yourself up. Obviously, it does take a little bit of risk and everyone only has so much they are willing to risk. But if there was a place to take a little bit of a risk for a maximum reward, I think PTGC is that product. In PTGC can kind of feel comfortable saying that. I don't know of anyone within our ecosystem that doesn't think it's not that one that can actually be the 0.1%, the one that can actually be this coming cycle's 1000x token. And I think Zoom or whatever, a Microsoft meetings, whatever you use or we use, or if we do it, is a great place to send these type of people. I don't actually think Telegram or Spaces is the best place to send these type of people.
Yep. It could be like an introduction to crypto, you know, because we talk pretty high level in these spaces. And it's not necessarily, like you said, the best place for a no coiner to start from zero.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about no coiners. I'm just talking about target market individuals. I mean, it's like what Holland said. I mean, he's talking to people and they're already on a chain, you know. So I mean, obviously the best place to sell a cigar is to a guy who already likes to smoke cigars. So the target market for me is it's always been the target market first. But I think that, you know, we only got about 5 months or so of down, sideways, whatever action for this. And, you know, it's like what Perry said. I mean, engagement's down like 95% on X for this stuff. You Google it, it's just not there right now. So, you know, sitting in an echo chamber is not it. Getting people in front of it so that it's on their watch lists in a professional way. It just may be something. I've seen a lot of success. I've seen networks grow really, really fast in the past by doing it that way. So it would just be a matter of how many people referred people to it and how quickly that ends up. What ends up happening is, you know, you got, you know, 30 people that show up the first time, and then those people all bring in their buddies the next time, and they might not even buy. They just want somebody else's opinion on it. And now you got it in front of 60, 100 people or whatever, and your Zoom's filled up.
I'm thinking of people right now that I've been trying to get convince them to get exposure or look at the Grays currencies. And I've sent them, videos or, written them a few things. But if I could send them to a full-on presentation where they're going to get everything from start to finish, wow. Because it's tough to market to I'm just having a difficult time getting interest in people. But if they could see the whole ecosystem from the beginning to the end, then I think they'd be more interested, because then they have there's a better chance of them understanding it if they can see the whole thing. But to ask somebody to watch a 1 hour like YouTube video on their own versus like a live presentation, that's different.
It doesn't need to be too much too. It doesn't need to be TMI. It just needs to highlight the current opportunity with the memetics tied to it, and just the current opportunity compared to other things. Because obviously they can go in the S&P, they can go into Dow, they can go into Nike, they can go into whatever the hell they want. It's just putting it across their desk in a professional way instead of just, right now crypto's dead in that sense, unless you're shitcoining on Solana, dude.
Well, a lot of problems will have that. Go ahead. Big guy.
And a lot of people are still in that trading mentality until like solid green candles over time and investment opportunity long term. That's which really I think is going to get PTGC going, because when somebody starts saying, I made some money over here, where's a good investment that's going to work out over time? I can still play with this, but everyone is still in the casino phase right now.
Yeah, but you gotta, when you make money in the casino, people that are in the game, they realize that kind of where we're at if they're seasoned, and you're looking for where do you put some of those gains from the casino if you're making gains.
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah, perfect.
Totally with that whole statement. But right now, it's like people are down and out, and they're still gambling. Margin, not margin. What do they call that when you put 100 on and you take leverage? They're into that leverage so much. I mean, everybody I talk to, the leverage, it's the only way you're really gonna. And I'm like, fuck that, man. Stay away from that leverage shit.
Yeah, it's so rigged, man. One wick and you freaking just get liquidated every time.
And then a wick the other way, and the other guy gets liquidated the other way.
Yeah, I think an important question that I sometimes ask myself, because it was a question I was asking myself when designing PTGC, is what do I need? And I feel like we have to always ask that for other people, what are you looking for? This is even basic in sales, just in general. When you're talking to a customer, it's well, what do you need out of this company? What can we do for you? And you're actually, a lot of times, once you let them tell you what they need, we can specifically solve all those problems with the PTGC smart contracts. They just need to tell us so we can explain that specific function, right? Some people are here in cryptocurrency because they want to hold one token and they want to hold that long term and have it go up over time. Some people only want to be here for one cycle, make some X's and get out. And, they're still here probably because they didn't make their X's. Some people want something that's very passive income based, something where they can store some value not have that value go down too much, but then earn off of their value that they already have. Like everyone's in a different boat, and you kind of have to find out what boat they're in and let them tell you what they want. But once they tell us what they want, you know, I do believe, because I took a lot of those steps when trying to find a product, and even with the design of PTGC, if they tell us what they're looking for, PTGC most likely has it in it. And then we can specifically dive into that one part, because there is 20 parts that we can dive into, and it becomes information overload. But if they can tell us the one specific part that they're looking for, we can go into that one specific feature. Some people are just looking for X's. You know, they just want to be in a product that has a high reward turnover in one cycle. PTGC offers that. Some people want something a little bit more safe. Well, definitely at these low prices, I feel like the entry into PTGC is very, very safe. Anyone who took action at the low prices of PulseChain into PTGC, it was a very safe place to get in. As long as they were willing to hold on for more than a couple of months, they got put into profits. So it just kind of depends on what every individual is looking for, and us finding out what those individual needs are. And luckily, we have a strong product that can help solve those issues.
I mean, PTGC is one of the few coins that actually builds value. If 10 million go in and 10 million go out, the people that are still there have more value over and over and over again, which is, you know, 5% in, 5% out. But if you stay and 100 million goes in and 100 million goes out, all of the pools are more, your coins are worth more. It's one of the only coins that 100 million can go in and 100 million can go out, and you're still worth more.
It's literally a game of who's holding the longest, dude.
Yep.
I've got to take off, guys. Good call.
Yeah, I'm ready to shut it down here too. My kids are getting pretty antsy and want to do something for the day.
Oh, man, I got in late. All right, everybody have a happy Easter.
You too.
Yeah, guys, have a great Easter with the family. Awesome, safe time celebrating the holiday, and we'll see you guys on Monday.
All right.
Later.
Yeah. All right, see you guys.
That's a wrap, guys. Saturday Spaces, another one in the books. Yay. All right, guys, go have a day. If you want to jump in on my stream tomorrow, I will be going through the Grays ecosystem from start to finish tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific. You're welcome, Paul. And Paul, I messaged you on Telegram, so if you would check that. I'm glad you reminded me, because I saw you and I was, yeah. So, but if you got new people or you want to learn about the ecosystem, jump into that stream. That's what it's for. You guys can ask any questions and send your onboards there too. So, yeah, let's get those referral links out there. May as well while you can. Hey, I was telling Zen earlier that, like, we are the OGs of this cycle. You guys know that, right? So when everybody comes, when they come, there's going to be an opportunity to get those referral links out to everybody that's coming in. So just wanted to say that. You guys have a good day. We'll see y'all later. See you, Mike. Glad you had questions. You can reach out to me. Jump into my Telegram. If you guys are in my private Telegram, you can ask any questions in there. All right. See you guys.